I'll just take a couple of moments to share my own personal experience and the experience of somebody else as well, because my experience is quite simple and straightforward, whereas the other person's experience is quite profound. We've been with Swami since around 2010, and around about that time, Satya Sai Baba was coming in my dreams quite frequently. I think I shared this before, I'll just very briefly tell it again. On one occasion, Baba came in my dream and he materialized a ring and he put it on my little finger like this. And when I went to see Swamiji, he grabbed my hand and he just kept on touching this little finger and he kept on saying, "So does Baba still come in your dreams? Does Baba still come in your dreams?" He was doing all of this. So what he was trying to do was break down this barrier that we have created between gurus and forms, because there's only one, and that same one resides in all of us. And if we can't recognize that one in oneness amongst gurus and gods, then we won't be able to recognize the oneness in ourselves and those who are around us. So this is what he was doing around about that time. On another occasion, Baba came in my dream. I think this was 2012. Baba came in my dream and he gave me a mantra. And he said it in the dream. I was in the darshan line and I didn't understand what he was saying. So this photo here, the next day I stood next to that photo and I apologized for being a bit thick. And I said, "Look, Swami, you came in my dream last night. I didn't know what the mantra was." So the next day Baba came again, but this time he had written it down on a piece of paper in the dream and he was showing it to me. But me being me, when I woke up, I still didn't remember it. But about 2 weeks later, I went to see Swamiji. I didn't say anything to him. And as I walked in, before I said anything, before I even knelt down, he just said, "You know, you have to do this mantra." So he was showing me that there's only one. And time again, everything he says, it doesn't make sense at that time, but it always comes true somehow. And I'm sure many of you have had that experience. I'll share one experience which I had, a very small experience I had a couple of years ago. This was around about the time when the construction was taking place of the Yajnashala in the Barnett ashram. And the guys who were doing the building work were there until about 2 o'clock in the morning on most days. So one day I decided I was also going to do that. I was going to stand and help them and dig up and do all of this stuff. So I went, and round about 10:30, I injured my shoulder, and it was a Thursday and it was darshan day, and I wanted to go and see Swami, but I looked at my clothes and it was quite dirty. I looked like a builder, so I decided it wasn't today, I'll go some other time. So around about 11 o'clock, I decided it's time for me to go home. So I said bye to everybody. So imagine this, I'm leaving the ashram, everybody's gone home for the day, it's pitch black, and I'm walking towards the car park. And in the car park, there are only two cars. There's my car and there's the car that used to transport Swami to the ashram, because he used to stay at Preston Road in those days, I think. And as I walked towards my car, I looked to the left and he's standing in the car park by himself. And I managed to catch him for 5 minutes. But this itself isn't the experience. The experience is what happened afterwards. So the next few days I was thinking about that and thinking about the mechanisms behind these so-called coincidences take place. So I thought maybe it was my yearning because I wanted to see him. That's what made it happen, because there is something called the law of attraction. But then I remembered, this had happened a few times. I'd always bumped into him in the car park. One day I went to get Lucozade and he was there in the car park. So this happened about 3-4 times. Then I thought, okay, maybe it's his will. Then I thought to myself, how can it be his will? Like, who do you think you're not prime minister that he's going to move time and space and just move you and bring you to the right place? Then I left it at that and I just didn't think too much about it. About a week later, we went to see him at the ashram. And again, just as I approached him, he just looked at me and he said, "Everything here is controlled by me." This is all he said. Everything here is controlled by me. So this made me understand that there is something else that's in control. We just have to surrender. And you suffer. We suffer because we try to control what we think is good for us. So this was a very profound lesson from a very simple experience. I won't take up too much of your time, but I'll share one more experience with you, which isn't mine, but it's a very, very profound experience, but has a simple message. This experience took place about 10 years ago in Sri Lanka with the Sri Satya Sai organization, who were organizing a program for Swami. My apologies if I don't get the events exactly as I heard it,
No.
but the gist of it is going to be intact.
Yes.
the organization prepared a program for Swami, and they put this big show on for him, and the head of the organization was an ardent Satya Sai Baba devotee, and he decided that he was not going to bow down to anybody. He would help, he'll do everything that is asked of him, but he's not going to bow down to anybody apart from Satya Sai Baba, because that's his God and his Guru, and nothing else can come in the way. So the program started, and during the program, Swamiji called him over and said, let's call him Uncle Ji. So Swamiji called Uncle Ji over and said to Uncle Ji, look, you know, outside the compound gates, there's a woman with a baby. They've come from far away. Go and look for them. Go and give them something to eat. Baby's hungry. So the man was a bit confused, thinking, how does he know what's going on over there? He's been here for 3 hours. How does he know? So he went, he opened the door, and the baby and the lady is there. So then he's thinking, maybe there's something to him. Then Swamiji called him again half an hour later and said, you know, there's an old man, he's thirsty. He's just outside the gates. Go and open the gate, bring him in. And again, this man is going there thinking, how does he know all of this? So at the end of the program, one by one, all the volunteers went to touch his feet, except for Uncle Ji. And Uncle Ji decided, I'm not going to bow down. I'll do my namaskar from here. I'm not going to bow down. So Uncle Ji went on the stage, last person to go, very reluctantly, because everyone's saying, look, just go and just do namaskar. You'll never believe what happened next. And the only reason I know this is because this was published in the Sri Lankan newspapers. When Uncle Ji went on the stage, he collapsed, he fainted. When he woke up, he's telling the journalist afterwards what happened. He said, when I got on the stage, he said, I looked at Babaji, and Babaji blew at me like this. And he said, from Babaji's mouth, I saw a plume of smoke, and in that smoke was Satya Sai Baba. I'm sharing this with you because we sometimes think that gurus like this, that they are ordinary mortals and they have some divine capabilities. But I'm telling you this, based on my experience and based on anybody's experience at the ashram, that this is not an ordinary guru, this is a divine guru who is just behaving ordinarily so that he can connect with us. He laughs like us, he talks like us, he eats like us, just so that he can make that connection with us. Somebody I bumped into, I forget his name now, I asked him, how come you're always at the ashram? He said, my chip shop burnt down, but the fire wasn't as bad as it could have been. But when I went to see Baba showed, we call him Baba affectionately. He said, when I went to Swamiji, Swamiji showed me his hands, and he had blisters on his hands to show me, look, I took care of your shop. So these are the things that have drawn people to Swami. So please use this opportunity wisely, and thank you for coming once again. Thank you.
Thank you.